All right, so let's make a value scale. So this, we're going to do a value scale of 5. So you need like a rectangle that you're going to divide into 5. Right, and you're going to have, your lightest and darkest end. And so you want to choose, what's your darkest end and what's your lightest end, and also what material are you using. So in this case, I have a pen, but you could also, felt tip pen, you could also use a pencil or a ballpoint pen, or of course many other things, including color pencil, crayon, paint, whatever. The idea is all the same. Whatever you choose, how are you making your value? Because you're using one color, at least when it comes to like a black and white value. Of course, if you're working in tints and shades, it's a little different. But how are you going to make it? So are you going to be cross-hatching, right, which would be common with a felt tip pen or a ballpoint pen? You could also do, swirls. So you could create value with swirls, basically anything overlapping, or with a pencil, traditionally it's shading, kind of back and forth, but you still might end up cross-hatching because you can see that you'll still get a darker value. So I'm going to go ahead and work with a pencil on this one, and then I'll make a few more and speed it up so you can see how I go. So I'm going to have this be my lightest area, or my darkest area. So I'm just going to go for it, and I'm only working with a standard 2B pencil. If you have drawing pencils, you'll notice that they have these markings here. This is HB, which is hard. The softer ones, which are in the higher numbers like 6B, those are much darker because they're softer, and so you can get a wider range of values if you have a range of pencils. So just notice that if you do have different pencil lead types, it is going to impact the depth of value that you can achieve. But with a 2B pencil, really, this is about as dark as I can get. So for drawing purposes, this is fine, but of course it isn't as dark as you potentially could go depending on what you have. I like to create my ends first, so I know that this is going to be my lightest color. And am I going to do it by just kind of lightly creating some lines, or do I want to actually kind of shade it a little more densely? And then from here I need to work my way in. So you might want to next go back to your dark or stay with your light, right? So the idea here is you want to get something that's close but not exactly the same. All right, so now I need to find like my middle ground here. And so now I need to take a look and see, well, like this is getting along pretty well. This is looking too much the same, so I need to darken this one a little more. Maybe I'll go at a diagonal kind of hatching to get that to darken up a bit. Right? And so now I can start to see a little bit of a darker value showing up here compared to here. Now, like I said, I'm not going to get much darker than that here, so I do have a more limited range if I'm working with a standard kind of like 2B pencil. And so like I said, I'll just go through showing how I might do it with a pen, and a felt tip pen just sped up. But this is what you're going for, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different values from dark to light. And of course your lightest would be, your white paper as well if you're working off of a white paper. So this is a value scale. A quick note, I could also, because I'm using the same technique, I could go along the whole way with my first light hatching, right? And then kind of darken it up as I go. So that might be a kind of good way to speed it up as well. So a note about the scribble shading. You are going to really see the line quality a lot more in this. So if you are working at like a really small scale drawing, you either have to have really tiny scribbles, right? Or, it might just be a little distracting. So keep that in mind in terms of what you're drawing. This might work better on a larger scale, or like I said, with really tight scribbles. So these are a few ways to create a value scale, depending on what materials you have or just what look you're going for. And of course, scribbles and crosshatch could be used in different ways with other materials.